Good evening, Scott. How are you?
I'm great. How are you tonight?
Good, good. It's been an interesting day. I was in Seattle for the Pacific Audio Fest, and we'll talk about that in a bit.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, we got questions and all sorts of things. Jim is just coming on in a minute, and so Carl will be coming on. How was your week, Scott?
It was busy, back to normal after the vacation, but
Oh, what's that like? Oh my God.
mm,
Yeah, I know.
not so much fun. Yeah, but I've been spending my free time playing with my new toys here, the VPI and the tape deck. And,
Yes, the
yeah.
VPI. Oh, yes, the VPI. They're now owned by Scott VPI. We'll hear when we do the equipment. We'll hear more about that.
You know, I heard from the owner today, the previous owner. He said, "I'm so glad it went to you."
Oh, the previous owner
Yeah,
of the VPI. Oh, wonderful.
yeah. He wrote a comment.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
So we have lots of questions already, so that's great. Let me just bring up Jim. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Hey, hello, welcome.
Hello, Jim.
I'm okay. Hi, Scott.
All right.
So how you doing, mate? What's going on? What's crack-a-lacking?
I'm okay. I've been doing lots of presenting work and stuff this week, and then I'm back off up north tomorrow.
What are you doing up north?
Oh, well, I've got a family reunion in Liverpool of all my Liverpool family who now live in America because they all live in Oregon. And they're
Oregon,
all
that's right. I remember you visiting them, yeah.
So, yeah, and so got lots of painting to do on the house, and yeah, meeting some other friends for dinner and things. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a social weekend, really.
Very nice. Well, let's get some questions here, and welcome everybody. Let me just while we've got everybody captive here, please comment lots and ask lots of questions, which you're doing. I can see that. We'll go to them in a second. Please like and subscribe. That helps the channel. And don't be shy. Jump on. We have a guest tonight, Leo Purich, violist and composer, young. And an incredible, talented young man. We'll talk more about Leo. He'll be on in about 25 minutes. Don't miss that. He's a really brilliantly gifted fellow. So when we have guests, we sometimes run a little bit long. So we'll just kind of we'll do things as they come along. We have new releases. Jim's going to review the Rattle Bruckner 4, some new gear announcements. But Leo will be on at 5:30, and right now we have Carl to add to the stage. Who's back in his office, his quiet office. Hi, Carl. How are you?
Okay. How are you all doing there?
It's great
Hi,
to see
Carl.
you.
Yeah.
Hi, Carl.
Oh,
Great.
how are you?
Great.
Great
Great to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy day. How's your first week back? Being with the kids going to school and teaching at Columbia.
Taking some time. Yeah, the kids are having a good time. We're beginning to settle in. It's getting nice.
So yeah, it takes about 2 or 3 days. Yeah. And how the kids at Columbia? Are they learning lots and doing stochastic modeling and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, I gave them a nice lecture on random walks today. They had fun, I guess. So, yeah, it's all good.
I know when I do that lecture, when I audit it, I can't stop laughing. It's so much fun. It's great. So what was it on?
Well, a random walk. It's we always talk about
random
like walk.
Oh, got it. Okay, sorry.
Like somebody who's drunk and they're wandering around, and so it's step by step. So we call it a walk.
Very nice. Well, I can't even begin to understand all that stuff. Is it you don't do not string theory? What was that John Nash did? Chaos theory. Is it chaos theory? Is that what he did?
No, No, John Nash had an equilibrium result. What's it called? It's a fixed point theorem for. Yeah, it's equilibrium type of.
He won the Nobel Prize for it, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, in economics. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. So some questions. There's one for Scott. Scott, can you read that?
Scott, landed in Fort Lauderdale today. Any recommendations for record stores in South Florida? Thanks, Ryan. I don't know about up there, but there's a couple in Miami. But honestly, I'm spoiled by the bigger cities like Boston and New York. I'll see if I can come up with a few names though for you if you're headed down to this area. You should come to my vault, actually.
And bring your money. Hi, classical lovers. It's showtime. Absolutely, Joey. How are you? And Joey has a question.
Yes, sir.
A good question, Joey. Are there classical 45 7-inch records? Thank you in advance. And I said, I don't know of any.
Yes, of course there
Scott
are.
will probably know. Scott, what do you think?
Yes. Classic Records did a series of 12-inch 45 records.
I think he's thinking of the 7-inch.
Oh, he's thinking of 7. Yes, there are actually. In the very early days, I've seen a few sets of early RCAs on 7 inches. I don't know. Yeah.
I think I have one at home. It was combined with something else old someone gave me. Yeah, it was a Mozart of some sort, small, so it must have been around 7 inches, but I don't know many more than that.
Yeah, I think this comment is right. They played at 33. They were 7 inches, but because of the length of the program material, they were slowed down.
Hi,
They're
Jerry.
very
I think
uncommon.
I think Jerry is Jerry Cutting. I think you're new, Jerry. I don't recognize your name. Thank you for joining us tonight. Come on up sometime and show some records. Come and chill. It's great to have you. Yes, except from several pieces. It's demonstration record for Strauss. Cool.
Oh, okay.
So Joey wants some details, and of course Jack. Straight talk with Jack Graham.
Well,
Hi, evening, everybody. Got a few little. I got another gift box from Jack today, so I'm going to show those records tonight. Jack, you're very naughty, but you're such a wonderful fellow. And hopefully,
Scott, well, what happened to the 10-inch LPs then? Because I've got some of those, and when you think about it, it makes sense to release some classical pieces on a 10-inch because, most 12-inch LPs get stuffed with fillers because Beethoven 5 only lasts for. What happened to the 10-inch LP?
Right, that's true. I've never collected 10-inch classical records. I've seen
lots of jazz ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No?
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't even remember them, honestly.
Well, I bought a few in the secondhand stores and things, mainly from the early 50s. But I didn't. I mean, I knew of them, but
make sure you show them when we do the vault.
I've shown some of them. I haven't got them to hand tonight, but I'll get all the 10-inch ones out.
Another time.
That would be nice. I'd like to see those. I think they're maybe more common in England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jerry says Eastman with Howard Hanson doing Through the Looking Glass, Chicago doing Brahms Symphony No. 1, Minneapolis doing Nutcracker, Eastman Wind Ensemble doing Persichetti Divertimento for band. Great, Jerry. Great repertoire. And Jack says Evening Maestro and Miami Maestro. That's Scott.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's have. Oh, hang on, we've got lots more questions. Frederick Morris. I think I met Frederick in Seattle this weekend. I think it was Frederick. I'm not sure. I had a red 45 part of the Common Street when I was a child.
Oh, okay.
And then of course Jack says, "Hey, Maestro Jim." Yeah, lots of maestros. Oh yes.
Hey, Jack.
Frederick says, "Hi, Anthony. Great to meet you at Pacific Audio Fest." Oh, that was charming. It was so funny. I was sitting down and the show. We'll talk about the show in a little while. And a very kindly gentleman came up to me and says, "Would you mind if I say hello?" I said, "No, of course not. Hi, how are you? I'm Anthony. Nice to meet you." He goes, "Oh yes, I watch your live stream. I really like it. I try and watch as much as I can." And I said, "Oh, this is my wife Jan." And he says, "Oh, the famous Jan." And that was it. Jan's head was like, whoop. Okay. And when we went there, remember Scott said they're all going to be looking for Jan, not you. I said, "You got that right." And there's another story later on. I just told Scott before. So yeah, Jan had a great time. But anyway, Frederick, it was wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for coming and saying hi. We had 3 or 4 people came up and said hi who watched the show, which is nice. Read the magazine and stuff. And there are a lot of lovely comments about all of you guys. And I just said, "Shut up about them. Talk about me some more." Okay.
Jan has star power when she's not even on the screen.
I know she does. She does have star power. She does. She runs this place. Scott, good evening. Hi, Scott. How are you? And of course, the fabulous Sky. Good evening, all. and Postal
Evening.
Playboy, the best name in the business. And Carl, Jack never wants to miss anybody out. Great to see you, Carl.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Good to see you. Well, good to hear from you.
And Scott said, I think John Nash's was game theory. Yeah, not chaos theory, game theory.
Game theory. That's right. Game theory. Equilibriums and game theory. That's right.
Hmm.
The Nash equilibrium.
That's right. James Mice. Hi, James. How are you? I've got some interesting comments about you tonight and the Calidor. James says, good evening, everybody. Okay, Jim. Good. Oh, I said, Jim, good night. Notice that Anthony may be reviewing MBL speakers. I'm drooling already. Love to live in Scott's vault for a week. Well, he'll rent it out for you for about $5,000. You can just go down, man. James, it's not too bad a flight from Cleveland. No,
Yeah,
Cleveland or
you
Columbus?
leave with a suitcase full of records.
MBL speakers, I'm drooling already. Yeah, the MBL people are very, very specific about setup. So I think they're going to fly out the MBL North America, and the most wonderful people, and they're going to fly out and set up the speakers for me. So that'll be nice.
Wow.
As Straight Talk with Jack Graham. Everybody click the like button.
Mhm.
Okay, here's another one from Scott. Anyone in the group or watching going to Capital Audio Fest in DC in November? Always some good record vendors there. Well, it's the same people who run the Seattle show. And I'll talk about the Seattle show in a little bit. It was a bit different this year. But every time I've gone to Capital Audio Fest, just a couple of times, it's been a great show. Not a large show, although it's getting larger, but a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Wicked Exile, good evening all. Hey, how are you? And Tech says, yes, 45 RPM classical 7-inch do exist. Okay, so we'll come back to the questions in a little bit. I'm going to go large for a second. I want to just talk a little bit. These are from James. His son is the principal violin. And I think I'm going to try and get him on the show. James's son. He's the principal violin. But I reviewed that at Audiophilia. And I got this as a lovely gift from James with no expectation of a review, but I listened to it. I thought, oh, the world should hear this. The late quartets were great, but these are just as good. By the Calidor String Quartet on Signum Classics. You can stream it, but and it was releasing, I think it's releasing today or yesterday. Anyway, worth buying. Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm looking forward to their early ones. So I'm sure that they'll be coming up. Now, I was talking to you about the Great Walton one is yet to be recorded, but I did purchase this one off eBay, $5 to ship it was nothing. This is really probably the best one that I know. The playing is exceptional. It's not as good as the LSO with Previn, but it's very, very good. And I think Robert Wen, who's the principal flute on this, I think he's on this. He's coming on the show sometime, so we'll have a chat about it. It was recorded at Watford Town Hall. It's got a lot of Telok beauty of sound, the bass drum, beautifully balanced. So it's very, very good. I still think the Great Walton one is yet to be recorded. The EMI one with High Tank record, great sounding, but there's a bit of a snoozer. The Previn, of course, is incredible, best ever recorded, played, but it's on Dynagroove, and I friggin' hate Dynagroove. But that's a good substitute. If you want to get a good Walton one in great sound for cheap, that's very good. Now, 2 recordings, not so great. The recordings are fantastic. The playing is fantastic. The repertoire is interesting. This is Eudora from Spain. They do the most beautiful productions. This is called Sisters of the Moon, piano music played by Susana Gomez Vasquez. And it's music by Fanny Mendelssohn, Amy Beach, Alicia de la Roca, Claudia Montero, and Florence Price. And it's not bad. Not bad. The music is very good quality. She plays it beautifully. Would I go out of my way to buy it? I'm not sure. But if you want a CD with female composers that's quality music, it's very good. So Eudora, it just came out. This one is the curate's egg. Some things amazing, some things, in my opinion, not so amazing. Again, the Eudora recordings are just amazing. DSD, SACD layer, CD layer, MQA, it's got everything on this disc. And the sound is from the Mozart Sala in, I think it's Valladolid. No, I think it's northern Spain. But Josep Colom is a fantastic pianist. He plays the Mozart beautifully. But this is one of those CDs where the pianist is interspersing the movements with interludes extemporized by the pianist. And I don't care how good Mr. Colomb is, he ain't Mozart. And I'm a real purist, especially where Mozart is concerned. So it's not my cup of tea. If you want something a little bit different with fine playing and the most incredible piano sound, that's really good, also on Eudora. But now, we have to talk to Jack Graham. If you do something kind for Jack will do it tenfold in return, which I really appreciate. So I got an unsolicited record box this week from Jack. These are jazz. We're going to talk a little bit about rock, UHQR from Scott in a bit. But he sent me these three, and they are absolutely wonderful. I didn't know that I liked Benny Carter, but this is really great. These are the contemporary series from Kraft, beautifully remastered, all by Bernie Grundman, originally recorded by Roy Dunan. If you don't have that, I think it came out in 2021. It's fantastic in stereo, beautiful. And Benny Carter was a great alto player. He also played trumpet, which is so different embouchure-wise. It's very challenging. This is one of Scott's favorites, and it was lovely. The poll winners, Barney Kessel on guitar. He's just amazing. Oh, man, he's incredible. Shelley Mann and Ray Brown, two of the great ones on drums and bass. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So thank you so much, Jack. I love that. I've been playing that nonstop. And one other one. Isn't he generous, that Jack? This is Art Pepper plus 11. Great kind of stage band, modern arrangements with some incredible players on it. Conti Condoli and Pete Rugolo and a lot of great players. But that's wonderful. Also contemporary stereo. I have a Japanese pressing of that. It's good, but this is much better. So there you go. Jack, thank you, my friend. Okay, so these are records that have come out. These are new to the yet another Bruckner cycle. Jim, have you heard this?
No, I've heard about it, and I've heard that it's quite good.
Well, he's a good conductor, and Rotterdam Phil, he was conductor of Israel, I think.
Yeah.
And Rotterdam's a good orchestra. They've got the kind of the German Pausan sound and oboes. But does the world need another Bruckner cycle? I guess so, during these Bruckner years. Anyway, there's that's just come out, and it's on Warner. If anybody has that, and let us know. This is George Gramophone on records, Bruce Lee, or Liu. He's Canadian, wonderful, won the Chopin competition last year. Incredible pianist. Very, very fine. And there's one for Carl. This is another one from Viking Kåre Olofsson. This is more Bach. It's called Continuum. And it's got a lot of beautiful stuff. It's on CD. It's on LP. So maybe you can stream that and let us know what it's like, Carl, because I know that you're into that kind of stuff.
Did it come out very recently?
Yes, very.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it yet. Maybe I missed it, but
maybe it's not. Maybe it's not out yet. And now a little bit of a debrief about before we get to Jim's review of the Proms and Bruckner 4 with Rattle and the Bavarian Radio Symphony, the Pacific Audio Fest, because they have two lovely, lovely guys who do it. And I think it's kind of poor form to kind of rag on stuff when people work so hard. But the show was kind of small. It's going to be doing it every 2 years now, and there were only 30 rooms. And the rooms that I heard sounded very good. The altar room with the new Aphrodite speakers that Carl's going to get, and the new symphony turntable that I'm going to get, with Infigo audio from Kelowna, BC. Carl's reviewed them. They're pretty incredible. Their DAC and streamer was amazing. That was almost the best sound of the show, but the best sound of the show was the $250,000 Borison. I know I'm biased, but the Borison loudspeakers. I mean, the linearity on those speakers, they're $250,000. They were remarkable on their streamer, their $80,000 streaming setup, and that it was, and their $100,000 worth of gold cabling. It was remarkable. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But it's worth, it's Seattle's a lovely town, and they it's a very friendly show, but it was not well attended. Only 400 tickets prior, I think. And now John Stratton told me, oh, there was lots of people here Saturday morning, but Jan and I didn't see them. But we had a nice time and some good rooms. Okay, I think that's it for that. I can just remove that. Okay, Jim, tell us a little bit about your Bruckner 4. Let me get you big here.
Right.
Tell us all about it and where it was and what do you think?
Well, it was last Thursday evening, 5th of September. It was at Royal Albert Hall. It's part of the BBC Proms. And it was Sir Simon Rattle with the Bavarian Radio Symphony Orchestra. In the first half, they played a piece by Thomas Adès called Aquifer that was actually written for the orchestra, I think, for this tour. And then the second half was totally devoted to Bruckner's Fourth Symphony. I have never heard the Bavarian Symphony Orchestra before live.
I love that orchestra.
But they are a fabulous orchestra. The precision, the sound, the strings, it's interesting when you get an orchestra like that that's used to making a big sound, and then it gets into a hall which is much bigger than your average concert hall. I mean, the Albert Hall seats 5,500 or something. Your average concert hall seats 1,500 to 1,800 if you're lucky. And so it's interesting how orchestras respond to that. And, they worked very hard to get the clarity over, but it really paid off. The timpanist, for instance, was unbelievable.
He's a famous timpanist and plays with the Lucerne Festival Orchestra. Sir.
Yeah, he is. He is.
He's incredible.
His name is Mr. Raymond Kerfs, and he was superb. The performance was outstandingly good. If you're talking about orchestral homogeny and sort of sound, particularly the lower brass. I mean, the trumpets and the lower brass, the trombones, the tuba were absolutely outstanding. The interesting thing was they use a version. Now, there was no details about this in the program. It didn't tell you whether it's a Neumann version or whatever version. They said it's a revised version by Benjamin Gunnar Kors of the 1878-81 version. But actually, whatever the revision is, what they've done is, Bruckner's notorious for having had his symphonies chopped up and chopped about by various editors over the years. In fact, it's interesting. I read this week, Bruckner actually deposited all his original scores of his symphonies in the Vienna Musikgesellschaft, the Vienna Library, with a note to the librarian: please keep these safe for later times.
Yeah.
He obviously never intended to allow the butchered and the whatever. I think he hoped, in maybe a vain hope, that people would do it. However, what they've done with this edition is they've taken a straightforward edition of the symphony, which sounds fine. But what they did was they inserted notes at the end of various sections, played either by a solo flute at one point or by the double bass section. So you come to the end of one of these great fanfares, and and there would be the orchestra would come off, and there would just be a note played very, very quietly, pianissimo, by the double bass section, which was usually like the dominant note of the new key that the piece was going to go into.
And why did they need to do that, Jim?
Well, I don't know. What it did do, I have to say, it sort of it prepared the ear for something rather than a horrible gear change. I mean, some conductors just hammer through these pieces, and you can hear the gear changes. You can hear the bits that have been excised and cut out, and all of a sudden you're back into some variation of the second subject or whatever without any sort of preparation. But by doing this, it sort of smooths over like the little cracks that some people find in Bruckner. It doesn't particularly bother me. I mean, what made me sort of think was, well, oh, am I used deceiving me as this? But it worked. And I know it's the sort of thing that Simon Rattle does. So, you know, he's all for trying new things. And let's face it, we all have to, you know, think about doing things which are maybe slightly out of the norm. But at least it wasn't tinkering with the score. And there was nothing changed from whatever edition. I think it was the Neumann edition, but they didn't crack on. But the orchestra itself, the precision of that orchestra is just wonderful. In fact, I've seldom, if ever, heard an orchestra with that precision. I mean, I've heard the Vienna and Berlin Phil all over the place. I've heard, you know, New York. I've heard the LSO. I've never heard that sort of precision. And also, the interesting thing about the Albert Hall, as people will have seen, or if they see any pictures of it, it's quite a large stage. And what Rattle did was he made sure the orchestra stayed under the canopy, the original canopy of the Albert Hall, which is those plastic mushrooms. So many of them have been removed now to make way for this huge sound gantry, because I mean, they have everything from, you know, sort of rock concerts and sort of whatever to symphony orchestras. But what it does is it leaves a very large jutting stage at the front, because obviously other concerts in the series were going to have dancers or singers, or we're going to have things moving around at the front. So you were left with this rather large expanse of checkered floor before you actually got to the orchestra, which was, you know, it didn't help for immediacy for the audience, because it sort of put the orchestra further away from the audience than they usually are. And unless you were sitting in the choir where the organ is, right behind the orchestra, it sort of, there was quite a space. But having said that, the performance, you know, I mean, it was something to look forward to, and, you know, I'd go again in a heartbeat. And well, you know, I'm a Bruckner freak, so, you know, I enjoyed every minute of it.
I love it. You know, Jim, it's interesting. Jan, I saw the orchestra, Berlin Radio Symphony in Munich, in Gasteig, which is a crap hall. Their hall that's kind of temporary, the ISA, it's incredible, and they're redoing the Gasteig now. But even in the Gasteig, that orchestra we did Mahler 5 with Harding was so good. And Jan and I were just looking at each other, the Berg violin concerto, which even Jan enjoyed, because it's kind of, they played it so beautifully. And there was a lovely lady sitting next to us, and she said, "Oh, you do reviews?" I said, "Yes." She went, "Could you please say nice things about our orchestra?" I said, "I don't think you have to worry about that. It was just wonderful."
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jim. In about a minute or two, we have our guest coming on, Leo. So get your questions ready. Leo is one of those wunderkinds, you know, brilliant, but lovely with it, with the most beautiful family. And we'll talk a little bit about his family. And Jack says, whoops, hang on. Let's go again. Man, Jim knows his Bruckner. How about a Bruckner stream led by Sir James?
Oh, I'm up for that. Yeah.
Don't. It's like Strauss says, don't look at the trombones and the brass. It only encourages them. Don't look at Jim. So, Jim, do you have your viola questions ready?
Well, I'm just interested in what where he studied and what led him to the viola, really.
I know.
And then he can sort of, yeah.
I like the guests where you just get them one question and away they go. It's lovely. It's lovely. So, you know, now let's go back to a couple of these just while I'm waiting for, knowing Leo, he'll be right on time. He's a pretty amazing kid.
James, just a quick question before he comes on. Did Rattle mention meeting some lunatic in front of me?
No, but he did have a couple of paperbacks in his pocket. I don't know where he got those from. maybe he was buying them in the second-hand bookstore when you passed him or something. I don't know. You know, no, he didn't.
Here we go. Here's Leo Purich, violist and composer. Leo, how are you this evening?
I'm all right. How about you?
Very well. Notice Leo's sound is incredible. He's got the best setup of anybody. We got It
I'm glad
sounds
it's
really
working.
it sounds really good. Leo, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a very busy week, and I know that you're very busy.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for having me.
Are you? Oh, you're very welcome. Are you? The pleasure is all ours. We have a violist on the panel. Jim is going to talk to you a little bit about viola. So let me just give you a little bit of a background before we ask Leo the question. He can fill it all in. I've known Leo since the day he was born. Leo is one of those very, very talented, incredibly polite young people. And watching him grow up with his amazing mother and father, we'll talk about that in a second. I don't want to embarrass poor Leo, but he has great parents. He has a great brother, Marco, who is not a musician, who does designs games for designs games for a living and wants to make some money like my brother did. And Leo's father is a luthier and is making Leo a viola. And a great violinist, National Youth Orchestra Canada, Montreal Symphony, what's the other one? Metropolitan Orchestra in Montreal. And Leo's mother, the really talented one at the bumps, is the head librarian at McGill University, but she also plays viola like her son, and played with the Yannick in the Orchestra Metropolitan. So Leo, tell us a little bit about how you, before we get into composer and viola, tell us a little bit about your musical upbringing and where that spark happened, because I know it happened early because your dad would tell me.
Yeah. I mean, it was always kind of just around. Like, it's hard to remember not doing music. Like, my parents say the strategy was just sort of leave the instruments lying around in the house, and then we picked them up, and it kind of happened. I mean, I remember going to concerts of the Orchestra that my mom was playing in, super young. Probably some of my first memories, actually, going to those concerts, being really impressed with the orchestra, and of course just having the music playing at home all the time. Both my parents just practicing, or also, we would play music together a lot, like from a pretty early age. I mean, I sort of officially started playing violin when I was around 7, but we never, with my dad, we never really had official lessons, because I guess like the dynamic didn't work out with this. It's hard to like stick to a schedule.
Parents and teaching, yeah, it's like driver's ed. That's why you do driver's ed. You don't drive with your parents.
Oh, well, that I did do, but but no, I mean the parent teacher, the parent child teacher student relationship actually worked very well for us. Just not in the format of like strict weekly lessons or whatever, but what we did do most of the time is just to play duos, which we'd be doing constantly and still do to this day. Just like the other day, we pulled out some duos to play again, and that was like a huge formative experience for me, that I think has actually like influenced even like my composing and my approach to like making music with other people for the whole time that I've been doing that now.
So how did you get the spark to compose? Like, not being a composer in any way, shape, or form, I love, of course, music, but I can't compose. How did it happen for you? And be as detailed as you like, because I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah. So I started composing around when I was 9, and it was mostly just because we had Sibelius, like the notation software on the family computer. And my brother and I would both sort of mess around with this. And what was cool was just to be able to like put in notes and get the playback. Like as a kid, that was like pretty exciting, to have that direct, to be able to like see the direct correlation between like putting something down and receiving like music or whatever sounds. Very exciting. And then the other thing that I was doing sort of in parallel to that was to improvise on the piano a lot, and well on the violin as well. But the piano improvising is a thing that really led to composition, because at some point I sort of started saying like, oh, these little like things that I'm playing are kind of interesting. I should write this down, So those are the two things.
How old were you when you decided that?
The starting to write little piano pieces, that was more around when I was 11 or 12, probably 11. And then at that point, I started to sort of kick it into gear and said, like what have other people done here, you know? And I would wake up every day and listen through a Haydn symphony with the score, and I got really into looking at scores of early Mozart because I was curious what other people my age had done. Yeah, I think the thing that started to really attract me was and like I've been coming up with a way of putting this, and I feel like I don't often hear composition talked about this way, but okay, imagine this, or let's say, so there are things that that you like to listen to, and there are things that you are aware of, like music that you're aware of, and that's like a normal situation that everyone is familiar with. You know, there's music that you like, and it exists in the world, and everyone knows what it's like to think, oh, I should, like, I enjoyed listening to that. That was such a cool, like, connected human experience. I should do that again, or I should, like, you know, you're feeling some way during the day, and you think, yeah, I should listen to this piece, or like at a party, you think, we gotta get the mood up here, and this is just the music for it. So you know, there's like a connection between a musical thing and an experience, a listening experience. And then there's music that gives you something that you didn't know you wanted to experience. Now that also is like crazy to me, to think that like someone else, maybe like hundreds of years ago, or like coming from a totally different you know, part of the world or like situation, like anything really, thought of something, or like decided to put sounds together that are like meaningful to me or meaningful to someone else who didn't even like know that that was going to be meaningful to them. And that starts to get then at the thing that I find like most like electric about composition, which is like the ability to draw these like incredible sort of intangible threads between like interior experiences that you almost like can't believe that they could be connected. So you have those two situations, but then you look at those things. There's the music that you know the experience, the things you want to listen to that exist, the things you didn't know you wanted to listen to that exist. But then you got to imagine there's a whole category there of things that you want to listen to and they don't exist.
The spark.
So, yes, that's also crazy to me, because it's like, you know, I think about that and I think I gotta make that happen. You know, it's like, and then to think that and like then having done this, having like written pieces and like see how people react to them and get some feedback, to know that the same thing happens, that something that I've thought of, some kind of like sonic decisions that I've made, can actually like have meaning to other people in like unexpected ways, or in ways that I don't think would be accessible in any other medium. That's the spark to me. That's the thing that I find like extremely exciting.
That's a great way of explaining it. Leo, let me ask you a question. Your dad and I would talk about this a lot during your formative development. When I would listen to, I mean, your dad would send me MP3s of your concerts, and you did exactly as I would have changed from when I was younger. Like every chance you get, play everywhere, play for people. Here's my music, listen to this, you know, and get as much experience as you can. And you've done that. You've got a lot of commissions, but just tell me a little bit about how you developed your sound. Because when I first heard your music, it was very classically based, and it was. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it was based on classical forms and with standard classical harmonies. How did you develop, and where do you think you've developed to? Which is, I think, very, very important for young composers.
Yeah, I think the basic impetus of what I've been trying to do hasn't changed that much. It's just that the materials and tools that I've like gathered and decided to use have just expanded. So as you said, like when I started off composing, I was very very common practice tonal, sort of early classical Baroque kind of language, and just I'm like, with the way I described it before, you can tell there's like a very strong link for me between my like listening identity and my compositional identity. So I think they've kind of just gone together. As I've pushed myself to think, what do I want to listen to? That has expanded, and as I gather tools that allow me to, fulfill some of those things, I always find suddenly I'm like on to the next, wanting to draw some other kind of connection. And then like in the realm of connections, I've also sort of expanded to get the connections more abstract in a way. Now I'm working a lot with music that is connected to visuals or like themes about nature, sort of like processes and things to do with language, texts, that kind of thing. So I think that those influences of like thinking about connections with different mediums, different art forms, and different subject matter has sort of pushed me to go beyond thinking about like a specific musical language.
Very cool. Just
And
to, for the I'm sorry, Leo, just for the people watching and for the people who are watching the reruns, if you go to leopurich.ca, that'll take you to a link tree. And Leo is big on social media, and you'll be able to go and see all his premieres on YouTube with the National Youth Orchestra of Canada, which was a big commission and wonderful. What was the piece you wrote for the National Youth Orchestra?
The piece was called Canopies.
It's really good. I love that piece. It's fantastic.
Thank you. It's speaking of like expanded styles, that's a good example actually. So that was a piece which they asked me to write like a sort of celebratory, joyful work to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the orchestra, which was in 2020. So obviously did not happen. But then after several postponements of the season, that happened in 2022 on the Borealis tour, and I actually have the CD of the tour here that we made.
Cool.
If I'm coming on the Audiophilia show, I've got to show at least one CD. But so I was thinking of styles and sort of like musical situations that to me express that like youthful joy of music making that's so emblematic of youth orchestras and of the National Youth Orchestra especially, and that I've like been hearing of my whole life from my parents who were both in it as well. And
you were principal viola of the orchestra too, right?
For that piece, and for Strauss, Don Juan, and Brahms Symphony No. 4, yeah.
Amazing.
Super amazing.
Goes in the family.
So so that kind of experience I wanted to represent. And then thinking about connections with different things, I thought that's to me very much like the situation of a forest canopy, the way you have like all these different like small little branches and leaves all coming together to form something that's massive and imposing, is very much like the way each individual player in the orchestra brings their own like individual skills to make something that's much larger as a whole. So that for me ended up sort of bringing in some Baroque and also like big band jazz influences and a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, you can see that sort of the thought process there coming in. Like I don't really start as much now with like a specific language as with ideas about connections that I want to make.
It's a wonderful piece, guys. You can go to Leo's site and on YouTube and watch. Leo, let me ask you a question. How many pieces have you composed now?
I have just finished Opus 152, but that's a bit misleading because
how very dare you? And may I ask how old you are now?
I'm 25.
20. Oh, you're that old? Oh, 25. I'm 25. It's amazing. It goes fast.
Yeah, it's not impressive.
Yeah, no, 152. That's unbelievable. Have you written your first symphony yet?
I have, yeah, 4 symphonies actually. The first 3 are not pieces that I would show. They were very, very early. But the 4th symphony actually is a piece I wrote when I was 16 for the Orchestre de la Francophonie. Jean-Philippe Tremblay
Another good orchestra.
Yeah, conducting that incredibly gave me that opportunity when I was at that age. And yeah, that's available on my YouTube channel. That's a piece that I'm still very fond of.
Listen to that. And you've done a lot of chamber music too, correct? I played some of it with your dad. Yeah.
Yeah, especially recently, I've been trying to do more chamber music. I've had luckily many orchestral opportunities with youth orchestras and stuff, but recently I've been, especially at McGill, just because it's partly useful pedagogically to be doing that stuff, and because I'm writing for my friends who are around in small groups and whatnot. So I've written several sax quartets, a wind quintet last year. This summer, actually, in the Tuckamore Festival, I wrote a piano trio for a trio of amazing musicians, as well as a new piece for violin and piano.
Have you ever
lots
thought
of
about?
duos,
Sorry,
as I mentioned, sort of where it all started with the duos. So I've kept writing
have you
duos.
ever thought about conducting?
I have. Yeah, it's not.
Have you conducted?
I've conducted one of my pieces. In my last year of high school, I wrote a Passacaglia for a band based on our school bell, which is a bit of a commentary on the
that in the high school the Passacaglia form is ridiculous, and then to write a piece for it when you're in high school, crazy. Do the kids know what the Passacaglia form was? I guess after they
did after I.
Yeah. Just while you're having a sip there, I'll just tell a couple of quick stories, not to embarrass you, Leo, before we get to the viola part. I will tell you just a fun story growing up. Peter and I, his dad has been friends. We've been friends for 55 years, and since grade 6, I think, or grade 7. And I never thought Peter was going to get married. He's a solo musician, and and he met this lovely lady, and then they had these lovely children. So one day they were in Toronto. They live in Montreal. They came to Toronto, and they came to our house, and with Jen and I, and my son was there, Matthew. He was a lovely kid, a really lovely boy, and we had some other boys over who had, I think they were the little boys, the lovely boys, but they were slightly autistic, and it was they were down in the basement. It was like a hellish escape down there, and Matthew came up and was like, "Oh my God, Dad!" He's trying to help out these kids. So the next day, Leo and Marco and Matthew said, "Do you want to come upstairs and we'll play video games?" And they said, "Okay, yeah." They were very nice, very polite boys. They went upstairs, and after they'd left, and it was a lovely visit with the whole family, Matthew goes, "Dad, Peter's boys are so polite." I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "We were playing video games." I said, here you go, Leo. No, Matthew, you have a turn. And then here, Marco. No, Matthew, you have a turn. And they were just so bloody polite. It was so refreshing. I mean, isn't that lovely? And Leo and Marco have been that way their whole lives. It's wonderful because they have great family. So let's get into enough about your family. Let's get into the viola. Okay. Now, do you have your viola there?
I do, yeah. I've got,
okay.
I got a couple of instruments actually here.
Okay. Can you tell us the stories of these violas?
So this is the main viola that I use, made by my grandfather, Andrew Purich, 1997.
Another great man.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we call this one the butternut as well because it's got this weird sort of rounded shape. It looks a bit like a butternut squash.
Cool.
But yeah, I love this instrument, and obviously really special to be able to do my creative work with this, and knowing that it was my grandfather who made it.
Who made your bow?
I actually don't remember. My bow is the one that my mom used for many years professionally. I'm not remembering the name of the maker right now.
That's okay. One thing your dad taught me, he said, Anthony, the bow is just as important, if not more than the instruments. So
yeah.
bows are very, very important. So,
Well, the Baroque bow I use was made by my dad. I don't actually have that here, but
oh, yeah, okay. Tell us about this one.
yeah. So then this is the violin that I use most of the time, and this was made by my dad.
Look at that.
Really,
Perfect.
really.
Yeah, one thing I learned from your dad as I watched him make them growing up, purfling. You know, purfling around the side. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
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 Let's see.
Purfling. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Very
perfect.
nice, precise, crisp lines there.
Well, knowing your dad, it has to be perfect.
Yeah, that's something you don't get on all the old Italian $1 million instruments.
No. So how long? Okay. So tell us a little bit about your viola life. We've got about another 7 or 8 minutes. Tell me a little bit about your viola.
About my viola
Studies.
Oh,
Why? How come you switch between violin and viola? We know because there's a lot of gigs for violas.
Yeah.
But so tell us how you got into it. Is it just because your mom and dad, and then it was a natural progression?
Yeah, well, I was playing violin originally as a kid, as most people do, well, as most violists do, and yeah, then same deal for many people playing in the youth orchestra. There was just so many violins and not a lot of violas, so it was just sort of like, oh yeah, may as well. There's a need for it, and then yeah, so then going into CEGEP studying music, I ended up just doing viola because I had been playing it more in the orchestra. But then gradually I sort of came to really enjoy and sort of identify with the viola as well. And as a composer, I have to say it's like it's a very nice place to be, playing the viola lines in chamber music and in the orchestra. Always sort of like in the middle of everything.
Jim says the same thing. That's right.
Oh yeah, and
I was thinking about that viola in the first movement of the Brahms Second Symphony, that syncopated da, 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 and it's like comes out of nowhere, and it's just the clarinets as well, I think, but the violas are doing it primarily, and it's such a beautiful sound. What do they call the viola in German?
Bratsche.
Bratsche. That's right. And so Jim was saying, I'm just up to scratch my bratch. So who did you study with, and where did you study?
Okay, so well, first, my first and lifelong teacher has been my dad, of course. But in addition to him,
we're gonna get Pete on the show sometime. So
yeah,
we don't want his ego to burst, as he would say about mine. So, but we'll get him on the show. Pete's got a lot to say, and it's a great violinist and a great luthier, and your mom, of course. So go ahead. So you started with your dad.
Yeah. So then, and then in CEGEP, studying at Vanier College, I was with Amina Tabini, wonderful teacher and violist.
Vanier College, we love Vanier.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fellow Vanier.
Oh yeah, many years ago, Vanier College, I loved it. Wonderful music program.
So then, at McGill, even though I'm not in performance, I've had the opportunity to study with both André Roy and Marina Thibault most recently.
Are they in the Montreal Symphony, the OSM?
No, but Marina does a lot of solo work. She's one of these rare viola soloists, and actually, just since I'm on the Audiophilia show, I should show another CD.
Hang on. Let me get it. Okay.
Because this actually I would really recommend. It's her latest album, beautiful. Viola Borealis, with the Telemann Viola Concerto, the Vasque Viola Concerto. I think it's just a second recording of that as well, and a couple of really interesting solo pieces by Melody McIver.
I love that title, Viola Borealis.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so, yeah, well, I'll definitely be streaming that. Anytime someone recommends something, we always try and listen and report on it. That's wonderful. So what does the future hold for a violist and a composer of note in Montreal? What's going to happen? What do you think?
Yeah.
What are you hoping for?
I mean, this year I'm just trying to graduate. So that's the immediate future. Hopefully, finish and survive my 5-year double major at McGill.
What was your other major? Just to show that he's one of these geniuses. What's your other major?
Well, I don't know if this qualifies me as a genius, but I'm in composition and theory double major and musicology minor.
But didn't you do science at some?
I did, yeah. Well, at Vanier and CEGEP, I did a double degree in science and music.
Wow.
See, Carl's just at that other little university called Columbia. See, Carl, it can happen, Carl. You see, he just needs that Canadian ingenuity. You know, there are other
Yeah.
universities outside of New York City, you know, Carl.
So can I ask a quick
Please,
question?
please ask questions. I mean, Hog and
Because,
Leo.
I have a young child who's 5, and she got very interested in the cello, even though she was introduced, sound wise, And I said, "Why do you like the cello?" And it was because she said that the violin is too screechy. I'm just wondering,
I
is
agree.
that now you're a violist?
Leo agrees.
Is that something that you remember playing any role in why you gravitated towards the viola, or is this just, my own daughter's personal little opinion? I mean, because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think for one thing, a lot of people share your daughter's opinion. Much as I love the violin and also still play it. I don't know. I find like talking to people that I know about their instrument choices, a lot of them are like a little random. Like people don't necessarily have like a sense of the fact that they're like choosing their entire life path and identity when they gravitate towards a given instrument as a child. I don't remember personally thinking that I like enjoyed the viola sound more when I was first doing it. It was kind of just a practical thing for me. Like, oh, the viola's there. Need to play viola in orchestra. Let's do it. Same thing with piano. I mean, I ended up playing quite a bit of piano and taking lessons, partly just practically because it's like, convenient instrument to be able to play. Yeah, not so much for any like grand romantic reason or like particularly being drawn to the sound. But those things come later, I guess.
A nice comment from Jack. What a great example for young aspiring musicians. I hope the word gets out about Leo. I think it's getting out. In classical music composition, it's not easy, but Leo's got his social media down. Not quite Taylor Swift yet. She got 275 million subscribers. I'm a dinosaur and he inspires me. Isn't that wonderful? Well, he's inspired me. Just before we go, I want to just tell one other story that just shows Leo's exceptionalism in music. He's a very fine violist, and you'll hear that if you go to his site. And his compositions are wonderful, and that you can hear them from when he first started, and how it's graduated to the other influences that he's been talking about. And Peter would call me all the time and talk to me about Leo, and of course, and Marco as well. But
Actually,
sometimes
everyone should check out Marco's YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, what is it called? Which one is it?
It's called Sir Randalot. I'm putting this in the chat here. I don't know if you can.
Oh, that's great. But in the chat.
Yeah, actually,
we actually call it the Macadamia Gallery.
Oh, really?
I'm just kidding. Anyway, let me just tell you this quick before we say goodbye. This quick story because it's just wonderful. So, I get I'm a harmony guy, and I get fascinated with harmony. And one time I was listening to some Beethoven sonatas, and I think it's I don't want to say. I think it's number 7 or one of those. But in the middle of the last movement, Beethoven is working out this magnificent theme. All of a sudden in the middle comes this 16 bars of kind of a transition. And it's so profound. I'm like, every time I listen, I'm like, oh my God, how did he do this? And where did it go? And why did it happen? How did he do this? Right? It's a little bit like Elgar One, Jim, that melody, 16 bar melody in the last movement, like bring it back, bring it back. But they don't, they just put it in. But anyway, this transition is incredible. And my theory sucks, right? So I'm looking, I have no idea. I'm going to try and figure out. No, I couldn't do it. So I asked a couple of people. They were like, Anthony, this is Beethoven. It is really, highest. We can't do it. So I said, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. I'll send this over to young Leo. And this was Leo when he was like 17 or something. So I sent him on Facebook, hey, Leo, hey, kid, you want to do something for your old buddy here? Okay, could you do this? So within like 10 minutes, he had a perfectly transcribed harmonic progression of this incredibly challenging musical passage. And so I put it, of course, I was so proud of Leo. I put it up on Facebook. Look what Leo did. And so Bob Silverman, one of Canada's greatest musicians and greatest pianists, saw this and he sent to me a note privately. He said, "Who's this?" And I told him what happened. He says, and Bob's one of the greatest pianists. He goes, I can't do that. He says, "Who the hell is that kid?" and that's basically it, Anyway, so Leo, I cannot tell you what a pleasure it is to, first of all, to see your progression and your beautiful family. And you're a product of your family's upbringing, because your mom and dad are incredible, and but so are you and your brother. And continued great fortune, continued inspiration in your composing, continued good fortune with your viola playing. So, what do you have coming up over the next week or so? Anything special?
Oh, just over the next week or so.
Oh,
Just-
next month.
Yeah.
Do you have something going?
Tons of composing projects in the works. Yeah, working on a new, actually huge project with several other composers in Montreal. Choral thing with organ and several choirs and string quartet. Yeah, trying to finish one of my sax quartets.
Oh yeah, for the McGill Sax Quartet, the famous one.
Well,
students?
for one of the student quartets.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. So Joey says, "Thank you, Leo. Awesome." And Jack says, "Good luck, Leo. Thanks for coming on." Leo, I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Does anybody have a question before we say goodnight to Leo?
Yeah,
Jim, do you have a question? I got a question. Jim always has famous questions at the last second. Go ahead,
From
Jim.
one violist to
right,
another.
it's a simple one, really. As a viola player, I'm interested in how big your viola is. Is it 16-inch, 16 and a half, or do you?
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
I'm actually not entirely sure on the body length. I want to say 16. I can tell you the string length is 375 millimeters. So it's actually like a little bit on the smaller side, or sort of like.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And sort of and how big are the ribs? Is it a big viola, or is it sort of fairly?
No, it's a little more.
Comment. Check the comment out. Viola envy.
No, the reason I ask this, I mean, are you or have you ever been a sort of someone who's played a tertis viola, or which is practically a cello under your chin, really? Have you ever come across those tertis violas?
I've tried some. Actually, my dad has gotta have him on the show because I keep mentioning. But he actually has a very interesting viola design called the sloped shoulders model, which is like sort of allows to have bigger instruments, but with more room for the hand.
It's got like a little indentation in the is it?
Well, yeah, but it's a lot more elegant because it's a gradual curve.
Right.
At least I find it more pleasing than the
I should also say that Peter's, Leo's dad, Peter, is one of the world's most advanced for neck. What do they call the under chin rest? Thank you.
And shoulder rest.
And people have a lot of problems with stress and that, and they come to Peter, and Peter can fix them up straight away. Like, oh, I know what's wrong, and make some special chin rest. Yeah, it's wonderful. A question for you, Leo, just before you go. Could you read that, Leo? Can you see it?
Oh yeah. Oh wow, that's a huge question.
I know.
Anything
offhand?
It's hard not to say like Bach and Beethoven, partly just because recently I actually returned. So I was a member of the Orchestra Francophonie for a few years, and just this summer they were doing a complete Beethoven symphony cycle, and I got hired to come back and just play those with them, which was crazy. 5 days, 5 concerts in a row, and it was amazing. Like for that reason, to be able to go through, to be inside the music and go through the symphonies in order, like to the point of that comment, getting both the listening and playing perspective. I mean, one composer, something I was just working on today. I'm a huge fan of Fanny Mendelssohn.
I just listened. She's on this new recording, Fanny Mendelssohn.
Oh yeah,
very good music.
Yeah, I was just practicing one of her few published piano works near the end of her life. So yeah, that's a big inspiration for me.
Wonderful. Well, listen, please give our best to your mom and dad and to Marco.
Will do.
Continue great fortune with your compositions. I check your social media quite regularly to see what's going on in your life. And please come on again sometime. Will you come on again?
Be happy to, yeah.
And you tell your dad
course.
he's getting his invite very, very soon. Okay, Leo, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you,
on.
Leo.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
All the very best to you, my friend.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure.
Oh, isn't he absolutely wonderful?
We
I mean, I know, just lovely, lovely, lovely young man. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, there's maybe some questions for Leo later on in the chat. He calls it the chat. Matthew said, "Dad, Peter's boys are so polite. They're so nice." But you could see, like Leo, like he's got such a
He's
deep
very
heart, and it shows in his compositions.
yeah.
And it's just it's wonderful. But Peter would call me and say, "Oh, listen, I'm going to send you something," and it was like little Leo at age 10 writing a recorder concerto. Like, it's like, where does it come from? But obviously there's something, not just osmosis, there's something in the gene pool. Anyway, I'm so glad Leo came on tonight, and we'll have his mom and dad on at some time.
Yeah.
His mom is the head librarian at McGill Music Library, and a great violist. And of course, his dad is one of the leading violinists in Quebec, and luthier, and many, many other things, teachers. And so it's great. So anyway, thank you, Leo. It was wonderful having you. Okay, so Scott and Carl, we're going to talk to you guys next. We talked about equipment. I just want to make sure. I want to just make sure I've got.
Can I ask Jim one quick question? The same question I asked.
Yeah.
Why did you gravitate towards the viola versus, say, another stringed instrument?
Because I was sort of pushed into it by the school because I was a big lad, and they didn't have anyone else to play the viola, so they decided they'd push me as the biggest boy onto the viola. I mean, the violin I had was actually my father's, so even when I was about 8 or 9, I was playing a full-size violin. So I was like this playing the violin, and they thought, "Oh right, you can play the viola then if you can do that." And so I ended up being given this sort of cheap Chinese viola, which actually wasn't too bad. And so that's how I got pushed onto the viola. It took me a while. I mean, I still like playing the violin, and there are some things on the violin which are a joy to play. But also, the viola gives you, when the instrument's making a really lovely sound and you've got a nice piece to play, it's a beautiful instrument.
Great. Well, hey, Jack, it's nice to see you. I just want to just add one thing. Next week, your homework for the Building a Library is the Beethoven Complete Piano Concertos. Not that one. We'll talk about that one. That may be your favorite one. It's the new one with Zimmerman and Simon Rattle. Sometimes it's just time to hang them up. I mean, it's very good, but there are so many great ones. So that's your homework for next week, guys, if you don't mind. And let me just remove this from the from studio. So we have room for one more person if you want to come up.
Joey.
Alan says, "I'm glad." Scott, do you want to read that, bud? Can you? You're on mute. You're on mute, bud.
He says, "I'm glad to see Scott has settled in with his new VPI turntable and has it all set up. Another good video on the subject this week. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It is, we did some final tweaks today before we did our shootout. I'm going to talk about it in a minute.
Yeah, I'm going to put you up big for a second. You want to hold up that UHQR? Again, we're getting a little, I mean, Scott and I were counting between Esoteric and DG, the original source. We have like 24 issues a year. That's it. You get 24 issues a day coming out of Chad's store.
Classical, yeah. So we have to.
It's a classical. So sometimes we have to talk about other things. And we talked about Jack's amazing stuff he sent me. So let me just do the solo layout. Okay. What's that for? What the hell is that for? Have you become a proctologist? Bend over, Jim.
My buddy, I would be careful with his UHQR. I don't want to get any oils on it. This material is very absorbent, like a finger organ. I compared this to Steve Hoffman's DCC in a 2009 Bernie Grundman. So that's going to be coming out this week. It wasn't the result you might think. I also have a couple
Interesting.
I also have a couple of new releases. These are from Italy. They were sent to me by Bird Box Records, and they're two guitarists. And these are like along the lines of maybe an ECM or Windham Hill type recording. Very atmospheric guitar, kind of jazz, but sort of new age a little bit, I guess.
Beautiful cover.
I still haven't locked on really. One of them is binaural and 45 RPM. They're all analog. That was very nice. They sent me a couple, and I'm starting to listen to those to review. And last but not least, I'm doing. You saw the tapes I showed last week, right? Well, I came up across this tape, and I'm doing an overview on Command Records. You might recognize this if you're a child of the '60s. This is from Command. Enoch Light's label. It was like an early audiophile label. This is Terry Snyder, percussionist. That tape just blew us away today. We were listening to it. It's amazing. Really, really good sound. And these are a few of the Command releases that I've been listening to in the last couple of days.
Are you doing a video on those?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to cover all these early audiophile labels.
And you have them, which is remarkable.
Yeah, I've got them. These are Tony Mottola. And the other thing is just these. This was a video I did recently. The Martin Denny.
Who is that lady?
Her name is, oh, damn, I forget. She's on all of them, though.
She's on all the covers. She's a beautiful woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Sandy something.
Oh, look at her.
Yeah, exotic percussion. Those are fun early hi-fi audiophile type records in an exotic vein. They started the exotica craze. So that was a fun video I did a couple weeks ago. So
Great,
that's
Scott.
about all I got today.
Here we go, Carl. You're on.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I think that, one thing I want to talk about just briefly is, and I mentioned this to Anthony, I spoke, a couple, episodes ago about this device by Small Green Computer, which allows one to put this on the Ethernet and store music and hold rune and things like that. And it's very simple. And it also doesn't have a graphical interface, so it's to avoid interference. Anyways, it turns out that they've just come out with a new upgraded version of something which is very important to use with this, because if you have this, you can't connect a DAC directly to it. You can only connect a DAC to it by way of the Ethernet. So they have a new device out which allows it to connect to the Ethernet. And then you connect your USB DAC, if it's USB, to that. If you have an Ethernet DAC, you would disconnect it to the Ethernet. But the whole point of this is to separate the devices so they don't interfere and make interference and all that. So I just got an email. He just sent one of them to me. It'll arrive soon, and I'll be using that to review, because I can't actually review this. My DAC's a USB DAC, so I can't even connect it right now. And I will be able to do that soon, and I'll report on that. It's $1,000, and this is about $1,000. So ultimately, for $2,000, you're getting something which might be very, very useful to many people, instead of trying to use a computer and have a lot of distortion and that sort of thing. So I'll keep you informed of this as we go along over the next weeks, and I'm looking forward to receiving this new thing from Small Green Computer. Beyond that, let's see, music a little bit. Well, I don't have a whole lot to report, but there's as they say, places like Qobuz and Tidal and the others, they release a lot of new things, sometimes every week, sometimes every 2 weeks. This was something that I just, before I left coming home a little while ago, it was a new version of the Goldberg Variations. I can't say a whole lot of it. I put it on and I heard the first beginning, and I was like, all right, and then the second piece, when it starts off the aria, It's very lively and very interesting. And one of my daughters just kind of came in and started dancing and things. And so it seems to have an effect on people. So it may be worth checking out. It just came out.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Don't know
I'm-
him.
I didn't either. I think he does play pretty fast because the whole thing is over in 40-something minutes.
That's fast.
Yeah. But again, I didn't have time to listen to the whole thing. Some of these, I look at them and when I have time, I listen again. You guys were talking about, you weren't talking about Bruckner earlier today, right? Something, weren't you? Is that correct? Yeah. So
We never stopped talking about Bruckner.
that's fun. Yes.
Oh, is that the one that Jack mentioned as well, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I listened to it. The sound is quite good. I'm not the Bruckner genius that Sir James is, and maybe Jim could listen to this at some point and talk about it. But
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll stream that tomorrow. Have a listen.
I didn't find the performance. It was just there.
They're competing against the Vienna Phil and Berlin Phil.
Yeah.
I mean, Tonhalla's a good orchestra, very good, very professional. Yavi's a good conductor, but he's not Giulini. That's the problem. So you have these. He's not Klemfert. That's the problem. You have these great performances and these conductors who get under the skin of Bruckner. I mean, but Yavi's very good. I'm sure it's very good. I'll have a listen too, Jim. See what you think.
Yeah.
What did you think,
Sure.
Carl? Did you like it?
Well, truth is, I didn't listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have time. I had a crazy week, so I downloaded
kidding.
things that I want to listen to, and if I have more to say next week, or you have something more, I'm happy. I have several other things, but time permitting, why don't we move on so someone else can say something?
Well, why don't you just remember that next week is the Beethoven piano concertos, and if you can get some on streaming, that'll be great.
Sure.
That'll be great. Okay, so let me just go to. Thank you, Carl. Wonderful as usual. Okay, so now we have Sky and Jack. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good. I'm outside tonight. We're waiting for what little rain we're going to get from the hurricane coming up to Tennessee. So
thank you so much for the records. You don't need to do that, but
no. It's my pleasure.
It's very, very much appreciated.
I think that Art Pepper, listen to it a few times. That might make your list of good sounding recordings. What's funny is
they're going to make the Audiophile Dream List. They're incredible.
I've got an original contemporary, very clean of that. They're around. They're quite expensive now. When I bought mine, it wasn't too bad, but it's very clean, and it actually sounds better than that reissue. And that reissue is damn good.
It is really good.
Yeah.
Good. Anyway, thank you so much. And Sky, how are you doing? Do you have any records to show tonight?
Yeah, I got two.
Okay, let me get you up. Hang on.
I'm doing really well. Thank you.
No, you're not doing that well because I haven't received anything from you yet. So my friend Jack has sent me a shitload of right now. Please, no more records. Anyway, let me get to Sky.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Sky. Lovely to see you, Sky. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I'm really excited about this week because our Kansas City Symphony season is opening with this weekend with their brand new director Matthias Pincher.
Oh, he's fantastic.
I think
he's a great conductor.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. I think he's going to bring really this fresh blood and energy that we really need here in Kansas City.
They must be paying him a lot of money. He's very good. Good composer too.
Yeah, it's actually, we're going to start with the Firebird and then Dvorak Cello Concerto. So it's going to be a really wonderful concert.
You'll have to come on and tell us all about it.
Yeah, I will. And then another chamber music this weekend. I think they're playing abroad. So it's going to be I'm really happy that season is starting for me. So that will be fantastic. I can't wait for that.
Oh, wow. How exciting.
But I have two really very accessible albums for everyone.
Okay, get Discogs up.
Discogs is up. I'm ready.
It is Deutsche Grammophon, and it sounds absolutely wonderful. So I will actually grab these records inside the Dark Side of the Moon if there's anything happens. So just tell me that. Let's get to the real music. So this is Schumann Piano Concerto.
Oh, look at that.
A minor.
Beautiful. I've not seen that before.
And I really love Ken playing it, this concerto, just with the scale and with the detail, and his tempo is just wonderful. And I think you will definitely hear it. Especially last week, I was actually loaning a new speakers, and I heard this on these speakers. It's just, to me, this is fantastic. So
And look at the orchestra, Jim.
Yeah.
grab it.
Bavarian radio. Yeah.
That looks like a great find.
This is 2534A4. So
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful album. Another one. It's, if you can't grab it, please grab it. You will be surprised. This is the Oyster.
Oh yeah, heard that.
And
yeah.
this
That's
is,
a great
Oh,
record.
if you can, please grab this on red stereo, because I actually have 3 of these. So if you want it, I will send you one.
No. We're just teasing you, Sky.
It is a fantastic recording. It sounds great. I hope that Deutsche Grammophon actually will maybe will release these with their anniversary releases. This is fantastic. Again, this is on red stereo. It is 138714. So
2 very intriguing releases. Thank you, Sky.
Yeah.
You always come up with some great ones. Okay, let's just go before we let's go to some of the questions. Alan said about Leo, what a great guest. Well, thank you, Leo, for coming to the stream. James, thanks for telling us about your compositions. We'll definitely check them out. Andre Roy was an inspiration at McGill for the Calidor. The Calidor, in fact, Peter sent me Leo's dad sent me they saw the Calidor in I think in Montreal. It's the Morning Musical Club, Ladies Club or something. It's a chamber series. And he said they were wonderful. Talked about that, about Scott's video. Alan also said, Blink 182 memories with those gloves. I'm not sure what that is. Tech Writer said, Command Classics use 35 millimeter tape to try and improve the sonics on the classical. There you go.
Right.
That's for your. Now, Ivan Music Man, I think you've been here before. It's great to see you. I'm not sure what's you have read techniques there in your ID, I think. Anyway, if you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. Have you heard this album, Mac Richter, A Landscape? He's the guy that's on redone the Four Seasons, and he's on Deutsche Grammophon. Has anybody heard any of these Deutsche Grammophon recordings of kind of, crossover music? Have you heard them, Jim?
No.
No, Max Richter.
Michael, I think it's Michael Mueller.
Yeah, I have a couple of his.
Yeah, he sent me 2 of his. It's not really my type of music, but the recordings are extremely good.
Nice
You mean Balmoral?
Yeah.
Balmoral, I think.
With
Balmoral.
the blue and white cover, the sound is exceptional. It really is. Max
Richter, In a Landscape. And Frederick said, Pacific Audio Fest, really like the Franco Serblin Goldberg stand mounts. I've actually reviewed a Franco Serblin. They're exquisitely made. They even more beautiful than Sonus Faber, if you can think about it. Imagine. Walton Symphony 1, Cell. Now, I didn't know Cell recorded that, Frederick. June, anyone know that recording?
No. That'd be worth listening to.
Oh, man. I'm going to try see if I can find a stream like right afterwards. Yeah, that would be interesting. Frederick was the fellow that came up and said hello. And Tech Writer said, I love Kemp's Beethoven. Yeah, his Beethoven set. You stream it from the first sonata all the way to the end, and it's just magnificent. Andrew from Oz. Hey, Andrew, were you in Canberra today? Great bar keyboard with De La Rocca on deck. Amazing piano sound and performance. Yeah, I always get her confused with Maura Limpany, the English one, who wasn't quite as good. But De La Rocca. So yes, it's a famous Symphony No. 2, Walton. Jim and I played the London, I think it was the London premiere of Walton 2. Remember we did it with Bernard? Do you remember that, Jim? Walton 2? It's a very interesting piece. It's not a patch on the first symphony. It's very good. It's very good. Yeah, it's Walton Symphony No. 2. Yes, I thought it was Walton Symphony No. 1. Yeah, no, And Piccolino the cat, that's Ozzy. Hello, Anthony, and wonderful paneling. I'm playing chess while listening in. How you doing, Ozzy? Okay, guys, we've just got about 5 minutes. What are you up to this week? What are you listening to? What's happening?
Well, I'll show you what I'm listening to. Thanks to
Oh,
you,
good.
Anthony.
Yes, sorry. Let me
Two $5 teleworks.
hang on. Let me get you up there, but
You brought up the Vaughan Williams.
oh, I
Two
love
or
that.
three.
That's a great recording too.
This was 5, and this was 5.
That's a very famous
Oh
tune.
yeah. Yeah.
Now, the first one that if you hold it up again, the Vaughan Williams Symphony Number 5. Be honest, you like the work?
You know, after you hear the 2 with Previn, if you hold everything up to that, it's not gonna be strong. It's a little bizarre.
Do you know what? If you're English, like Jim and I, straight away recognize that piece as being quintessentially English. It goes right to our heart. We both love it, adore it. But you know what Copeland said about that piece? It's like watching cows eat. Listening to that, it's like watching cows eat grass.
Jack, do you know the 6th Symphony of Vaughan Williams?
You know, I don't. I have it. I've got a number of Vaughan Williams cycles that.
6 is great. It's a very difficult symphony.
It is. And it's got that melody at the end, which is a bit like Sibelius, you know. Da, 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 da.
Well,
I like the 6th.
Dedicated, but the 5th was dedicated to Sibelius without permission.
Right.
Yeah. So
Maybe
Andrew, sorry.
So many subjects to do streams on, Anthony. You know, you got Bruckner, you got Vaughan Williams, you've got.
Well, we try and include everything here. So I mean, anyway, so Walton Symphony Number 1 with Previn, crappy LP. Oh God, I hate it. It's a shame. From '67, but available on CD on Amazon. Great performance. An interesting thing about that Walton Symphony Number 1, because the LSO's trumpet players have been from George Exdale in the 30s and 40s, amazing. So on the Nicholas Bush Brandenburg 2 EMI is from the 30s, not Nicholas Bush, the Bush Quartet, the amazing trumpet player. Yeah, but they sometimes they needed a great trumpet player for Walton 1, and the guy was not available, so they flew over the guy from the Canadian Brass, who actually got killed in a car crash. He was from the States, Houston Symphony, but amazing. Fred Mills, amazing trumpet player. So that's what I heard. He's on that record. I've never heard it from anybody else, but I've heard that. But that's, I mean, when you listen to that, the playing is so amazing. But as Andrew says, the sound. Oy. So people saying hello. So that's great. That's great. So thank you so much, guys, for coming on tonight. A wonderful guest, Leo. Thank you so much, Leo, for coming on. We really appreciate it. Let me just get, there we go. So guys, let's just say goodnight.
Anthony.
Yes, Sky.
I'm really excited that we are doing the Beethoven Piano Concerto. I mean, that's fantastic. But before we go, do you have a favorite number on Beethoven concertos? Okay.
I've actually, when I was in grade, I had Leo Purich on Little Genius. When I was in grade 10, I arranged Beethoven's Piano Concerto number 3. Bum, 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 bum. And the wind's coming, hopefully. But I arranged it for band. And we had a piano player named Rudy Wish. I don't know what happened to Rudy, but Rudy was a brilliant piano player and could play it. So my dad let me conduct it. I was a grade 10. And I've got it somewhere. And I did it in full score. And I don't know how I did it, but so I've arranged it. But the 3rd is not my favorite concerto. I love 1. I love 2. I've got a great performance for 2. But I'm looking for a set for a set. So if you got a set, come on, bring your set. Vinyl, streaming, CD. Just bring it along, and we'll do that next time. Okay, guys. So I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you so much to the
thank you all.
to Leo, and also to Peanut Gallery, who are amazing, and to our panel, including the great Sky, the great Jack, and of course our wonderful co-host Scott from the Pressing Matters, the purveyor of the best videos on YouTube, and then of course Jim and Carl, who we couldn't do without. So thanks, guys. Just stick around, guys. Have a great evening, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right.